Okay, so AI, right. It's everywhere. Kind of feels like it's running the show these days.
It really does.
Smartphones or news feeds. But how many of us really get, like, the systems that are in place? The
Yeah.
ones managing the super powerful tech?
Yeah.
That's actually what we're going to unpack today
Good stuff.
in this deep dive. AI governance. What it is, why it should matter to you, and how some of the big players, Microsoft, Google, are, tackling it.
Cool.
So, full disclosure, not trying to make you an expert by the end of this,
Right.
but I think we can give you a really solid foundation.
For sure.
So you can understand the news, have some conversations about it, maybe even impress some friends at dinner.
Exactly. It's like we've entered this new era. Algorithms are making decisions that impact us every single day, and we need to make sure those decisions are being made responsibly.
Yeah, like we don't want some robot uprising situation.
No, not at all.
Okay, so to make this relatable, think about building codes, right? For houses, they got to be safe, well-built. AI governance, it's kind of like that. But for AI systems.
Exactly. It's about making sure AI is developed and used safely, fairly, and in line with our values.
So instead of like blueprints and concrete, we're talking algorithms and data.
Precisely.
Same goal, though. Make sure things are built right and don't come crashing down on us.
Yeah, and the stakes are incredibly high. We're talking about AI making decisions in, like, healthcare, finance, even justice systems.
Okay, now it's hitting close to home. I mean, if an algorithm is deciding if I can get a loan or what medical treatment I get, we better make sure those algorithms are playing by the rules.
Right, exactly. That's where those 7 key principles of AI governance come in.
Okay, wait, 7.
Yeah.
7 principles. That's a lot.
Think of them as like guideposts for responsible AI.
Okay.
They're all interconnected. So, for example, transparency means we should be able to understand how an AI system works.
Okay.
Accountability means someone is responsible if something goes wrong.
So it's not just setting rules. It's about, making sure those rules are enforced and that there are consequences if they're broken.
Right. And these principles aren't just abstract ideas. They have real-world implications. Like, let's take the principle of explainability.
Okay.
Imagine an AI system is used to diagnose diseases.
Oh, yeah, that's happening already, right? AI reading medical scans and helping doctors diagnose things.
Exactly. But what if the AI flags something concerning on your scan?
Uh-oh.
Explainability means you have the right to understand why the AI flagged it, what factors it considered, and what the level of certainty is.
Okay, so it's like being able to, like, ask the AI, hey, explain yourself. Why are you worried about this spot on my lung?
Exactly. It's about making sure AI is not a mysterious black box, but a tool that we can understand and trust.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. So knowing these principles, how are they actually put into practice? That's where these AI rulebooks or frameworks come in, right?
Exactly. There are various frameworks like the OECD AI principles, the EU AI Act, and the AIGA AI governance framework. These frameworks are essential because they provide guidelines and set boundaries for responsible AI development and use.
Okay, I might need a little help unpacking all that. OECD to start.
Right.
I vaguely remember it, but a refresher would be great.
Okay, so the OECD, the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development, it's an intergovernmental organization, 38 member countries, focused on economic growth and social well-being. And they've taken a leading role in developing those principles for responsible AI.
So it's like a global think tank working on, policy recommendations for how countries should approach AI.
You could say that, yeah. Now, the EU's AI Act is interesting because it's one of the most comprehensive attempts to actually regulate AI.
Okay.
And it takes a risk-based approach, meaning that AI systems are categorized based on their potential to cause harm.
So a chatbot that helps me order pizza isn't under the same scrutiny as, like, an AI system that controls a self-driving car.
Exactly. The EU AI Act considers self-driving cars, medical diagnosis AI, and AI used in hiring processes as high-risk systems. They face much stricter regulatory requirements.
Makes sense. You wouldn't want the same rules for a toy car and a Formula One race car, right? They have very different levels of risk.
Right. And then you have the AIGA AI governance framework. It offers a more practical, step-by-step approach for organizations to build AI governance into their processes.
So less about setting hard and fast rules and more about providing a roadmap for companies to follow as they develop and deploy AI systems.
Exactly. It's about creating a culture of responsibility and incorporating ethical considerations into every stage of the AI lifecycle.
Okay, so we've got the theory, the principles, the frameworks. But what about the real world? Are companies actually putting these ideas into practice?
Let's take a look at two tech giants, Microsoft and Google, and see how they're approaching AI governance. It's fascinating to see how they're both working within these guidelines, but interpreting and applying them in their own way.
Okay, let's dive into the case studies. Microsoft first. What's their approach?
Well, Microsoft's got these 6 ethical principles. They guide their AI development. Fairness, reliability and safety, privacy and security, inclusiveness, transparency, and accountability.
Okay, 6. I can remember that. And are they, like, actually using these principles?
Yeah, they even created this responsible AI standard that sets requirements for building and deploying AI systems.
So they're not just talking the talk, they're walking the walk.
Exactly. And they've got a dedicated internal ethics committee. It's called Aether.
An ethics committee for AI, what does that even look like?
Well, Aether reviews those sensitive use cases, conducts impact assessments, and makes sure Microsoft's AI development aligns with their ethical principles.
So before they release an AI system, Aether steps in, like, hold on, let's think about the consequences.
Yeah, asking the tough questions. Who could this impact? Are there unintended consequences? It's about mitigating risk and ensuring responsible innovation.
It's like a safety check, right, before things go too far. It sounds like Microsoft is taking a pretty thorough approach. What about Google? How does their strategy compare?
Google's also very committed to responsible AI. They have their AI principles. And one thing that really stands out is their focus on societal benefit. They want to use AI to tackle big challenges,
Like what?
like climate change, healthcare.
So it's not just avoiding harm, it's actively using AI to make the world a better place.
Yes, but of course, defining societal benefit can be tricky.
Right, because what helps one group might not help another. So how does Google navigate that?
Well, they have a whole team, the Responsible Innovation Team. They work across Google to make sure their AI development aligns with their principles. But they also acknowledge that this is a conversation that's still going on.
So they're not claiming to have all the answers.
Right.
They're wrestling with the tough questions.
Exactly, and that's key. Responsible AI isn't about some perfect end state. It's about constant reflection, evaluation, improvement.
A work in progress.
Yeah, you could say that. And both Microsoft and Google seem to get that. They're both putting a lot of effort into making their AI systems more transparent and explainable.
Explainable AI, right? We talked about that before.
Right.
What's that look like for Microsoft and Google? Practically speaking.
Google developed something called model cards. They're like detailed reports, information on how their AI models work.
Oh.
The data the model was trained on, the intended use cases, the known limitations.
So like a user manual for an AI model.
Yeah, a good way to put it. And Microsoft has been working on tools and frameworks that make it easier to understand and interpret AI decisions, to trace the reasoning behind the AI's output.
So instead of just getting an answer from the AI, you get an explanation. Okay, so you know how it got there.
Right.
I can see why that's so important, especially in fields like healthcare or finance, where the decisions have big real-world impacts.
Absolutely. It's about empowering people to understand and even question the AI systems that are shaping their lives.
So both companies are making some real efforts to make their AI development more responsible and transparent. But let's face it, there must be challenges.
Oh, of course, it's not all smooth sailing. There are some real hurdles.
Let's talk about those challenges. What are some of the biggest obstacles in the way of effective AI governance?
One of the biggest is the lack of standardization. It's like different countries using different electrical outlets.
Okay, so what we need is a universal adapter for AI governance, a common set of standards that everyone can agree on.
That's the dream. But
Yeah.
getting there is hard. Different countries, regions, they have different priorities,
Okay.
different cultural norms, regulatory approaches. Finding common ground is tricky.
It's like trying to get everyone to agree on the best ice cream flavor. Good luck with that. But seriously, if we can't get some level of standardization, won't that lead to chaos?
It makes things a lot more complicated. Imagine a company developing an AI system that has to comply with regulations in the EU, the US, and China. All different rules and requirements. A real logistical nightmare.
So finding a way to harmonize these different approaches, it's crucial.
It is.
Not just for ethical development, but for practical business in a global world.
Exactly. And then there's the speed of AI development. It's moving so fast, new breakthroughs all the time.
So trying to regulate it is like hitting a moving target.
Yes. By the time you craft a rule for one type of AI, there's a new one, more powerful.
And that makes it even harder to predict and mitigate risks, right? If you don't know what's next, how can you prepare?
Exactly. We need adaptable governance frameworks that can keep up. We can't afford to be playing catch-up. And then there's the complexity of the algorithms themselves. Many AI systems, especially those using deep learning, are like black boxes.
Right, we talked about that. Hard to trust a system if you don't know how it works. How can we open up those black boxes?
Investing in research into explainable AI is key. Develop tools and techniques that allow us to peek inside and understand the reasoning behind AI decisions.
So make AI not just transparent, but interpretable.
Exactly. And this needs collaboration. Researchers, developers, policymakers, even the public. We need to work together to demystify AI and make sure it benefits everyone.
A team effort, not just a tech industry problem.
Absolutely. And that brings us to another challenge. Resources. Implementing effective AI governance takes expertise, tools, and infrastructure. Not all organizations, especially smaller businesses or nonprofits, have access to that.
So the big tech companies, they can afford to build ethics committees and responsible AI teams, but smaller players might not even know where to start.
Right. And this difference, it raises questions about equity and fairness. If only the big players can afford to do AI right, we risk entrenching existing power imbalances and limiting broader innovation.
We need to make sure that responsible AI is accessible to everyone, not just the ones with the deepest pockets.
Exactly. Democratize AI governance, so to speak. Provide support and resources to organizations of all sizes so they can develop and deploy AI responsibly.
Okay, so we've got standardization, speed, complexity, and resources. What other challenges are out there?
Well, one that's often overlooked is navigating ethical dilemmas. As AI systems get more sophisticated, they're going to run into more complex situations that test our ethical boundaries.
It's like AI is making us confront some really deep questions about our values, right?
Exactly. Like AI is holding up a mirror to humanity, asking, what do we stand for? What are our priorities? And how do we make sure those values are reflected in the technologies we create?
Big questions. And they touch on something we haven't really dug into yet, the public's role in all of this. It's not just experts and policymakers making these decisions, is it?
No, not at all. The public has a crucial role in shaping the future of AI. We all need to be informed, engaged, and willing to speak up about our concerns and our aspirations for how this technology is used.
So it's about empowering people to be active participants in the AI revolution, not just passive consumers.
Exactly. And that's where things like education, open dialogue, accessible information becomes so important. We need to make sure everyone has the tools and knowledge they need to understand AI, ask critical questions, and hold those in power accountable.
That's a powerful message. It's not just about building better AI, it's about building a better future with AI.
Well said. And that's what responsible AI is all about. Using this incredible technology to create a more just, equitable, and sustainable world for everyone.
It feels like, I don't know, a turning point, you know? AI it's advancing so fast. We have this responsibility to shape it, to make sure it benefits everybody. But how do we move from these high-level principles and like theoretical frameworks to like actually doing something, concrete actions, you know? How do we make sure AI is actually a force for good?
It can be a little daunting. I think the first step is awareness.
Okay.
The more people understand about AI, the good and the bad, the potential risks, the better we'll be at making those informed decisions.
Okay.
About how it's developed and used.
So education is key, not just for tech people or politicians, for everyone.
Exactly. We need to make these conversations accessible, get rid of the mystery around AI. It's not just the technical stuff, it's the ethical and societal stuff too.
Right. So we should be asking ourselves, how is AI being used in my life?
Yeah.
What are the benefits, the drawbacks?
Yeah. What role do I want to play in shaping the future?
Okay, yeah, those are good questions to start with. And there's actually a ton of resources out there, right?
Right.
For people to learn more about AI.
Definitely. Online courses, documentaries, books, podcasts, even museums.
Wow. So there are definitely ways to engage with this, but beyond just learning on our own, what can we do together to promote this responsible AI development?
Policy and regulation are crucial. We need strong frameworks
Okay.
to encourage innovation, but also protect against those potential harms.
We talked about some of those frameworks like the EU's AI Act, but what about here? What's happening in the US?
There are a number of initiatives happening. The White House released their blueprint for an AI Bill of Rights, outlining principles for responsible AI. And Congress is looking at different bills to regulate AI in specific areas, like healthcare and finance.
So the conversation's happening, but it sounds like things are still in motion. What can our listeners do to actually, like, make their voices heard?
Reach out to their elected officials. Tell them what they think about AI policy. They could join advocacy groups that are, pushing for responsible AI development. They could even go to town hall meetings, public forums, to really engage in these discussions about AI and how it's affecting their communities.
So making AI governance like a participatory process.
Exactly. It can't just be a conversation happening in a bubble with just tech experts and policymakers. We need everybody,
Yeah.
especially those from communities most likely to be impacted by AI.
I mean, that makes sense, but being involved in policy and regulation can feel kind of intimidating, right?
Right.
For like the average person.
Yeah.
Are there other, I don't know, simpler ways to influence AI?
Absolutely. Think about your consumer choices. We all use products and services that rely on AI, social media, online shopping, all of it.
Yeah.
By paying attention to how these companies are using AI, we can choose to support the ones that align with our values.
So if I'm not happy with how a company is using AI, I can choose to, I don't know, support a competitor that's doing it better.
Exactly. And don't underestimate the power of just asking questions. When you're using an AI-powered system, take a minute to think about how it's working.
Okay.
What data is it using? Is it being used responsibly? Don't be afraid to contact companies and ask them about their AI principles and practices.
So it's about being like a conscious consumer of AI, not just accepting whatever is thrown at us.
Exactly. And remember, these conversations, they're ongoing. AI is constantly changing, and what we understand about its impact changes too. Something small today could be a big deal tomorrow.
So it's not about finding the perfect solution and being done with it.
Right.
It's about constantly adapting.
It is. Responsible AI isn't a destination. It's a journey. And it's one we have to take together.
And on that note, I think we've reached the end of our deep dive. So listeners, remember, AI is a powerful tool, but it's up to all of us to guide it. Educate yourselves, join the conversation, and make your voices heard. The future of AI is in our hands.